The big question of the day is promises made, promises kept, as Donald Trump said he's going to do. That's a big question mark. Donald Trump is actually going to put all these tariffs in place start of April, coming in April, or is it just a bargaining chip for Trump to negotiate some bilateral improvement for the US? That's a big question. Now, what has changed since last time in our scenario? What is for sure is that now we are quite convinced that tariffs are inflationary and probably negative for GDP growth. So in a way, what's going on in the US is probably a bit more of stagflation, if I may. So if we have all these tariffs, it's less GDP growth and more inflation in the US. That means that in this context, we have to revise a little bit our scenario for the Fed. So now we think that the Fed is still going to cut rates, which is a kind of a contrarian view to the consensus. But we think the Fed is going to cut twice this year after the summer to end up at 350 at the end of this year. Now, Europe. Europe is a very different scenario here because whatever happens with all this tariff, it's negative for growth, but it's not inflationary in the US, on the contrary. So probably the ECB has every reason to keep cutting rates going forward quite quickly to 2%. The big question that we have now, is it going to be below this 2%? Is it going to be more accommodative? That's a big question mark. And then the rest of the world. Are all these tariffs going to impact the GDP growth? Because this time it's not going to be only China, it's going to be Vietnam, it's going to be Brazil, it's going to be India. So the whole trade all over the world is going to be impacted if we have all these tariffs put in place. So the big question mark is how much of that is going to be actually implemented and how much of that is just a bargaining chip. Answer to all of that, or partially all of that, 1st of April.